Be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
I want to make it clear that the views expressed by our hosts are not considered the official stance of MBR Views. Remember, this is all about having fun and enjoying the
Well, good afternoon and good evening to everybody. Coming to you live, the True North podcast. I'm excited because this is the first one on MBR. God bless them and thank you to them for doing what they're doing. And today we have a very special guest, really, truly. His name is Major Ed Polito. Hold on a second. Heart of a Lion Foundation. He does everything, trust me. Now, for that being said, he's a founder with John Daly. Okay, John Daly, if anybody doesn't know, PJ Golf Pro, John Daly. He teamed up with him to have Heart of a Lion Foundation, which is for veterans, mental health, homelessness, first responders. Does kids charities, Boys and Girls Club of America. He's an inspiration to me. He's a Purple Heart recipient. He has a book, which I hope to God everybody goes check out. To me, he's an inspiration. Not only is it inspiration, but a motivation, highly motivated for me. And it's just an honor to have this man come on and to be a part of it. Again, it's an honor and privilege. So, hope everybody sits back, grab some popcorn, or grab whatever you may choose and sit back and enjoy the show. But gotta wait till he hops on. He got a little tied up, which is totally understandable. We all do. Things happen. So I'll just sit here and we'll wait and we'll have a few conversations. So how's everybody doing today? That is like the number one thing. Well, since we're waiting and all that, I am the founder and CEO of the Compass Rose, which I have a cigar line, which right here, very nicely rolled and all that, elegant. I do this and it helps build because I have a passion for cigars. But being a Navy veteran myself, I have mental challenges. Now, with that being said, with mental challenges, I get lost sometimes and I need help when it gets to calming down. So by that being said, cigars help me calm down. It makes me concentrate on that. And with that being said, I enjoyed it and turned it into a business. It's a passion of mine. And I have a 501c, which is called the True North Foundation Incorporated, that it's for veterans, mental health, homelessness, and for our first responders. But not only on that token, I have what's called PNES, seizures. I was diagnosed back in 2016. So it's a scary ordeal trying to live with all that. You get depressed, all kinds of different things. And the VA wasn't always the greatest help for me when it came to stuff like that. Because it's very frustrating. It's new. It's hard to get. It gets challenging. So like Major Ed and what he provides, that's where the motivation and inspiration. You have men like him that lost his leg, but yet every time you see him, every time you talk with him, he does nothing but smiles. He's positive, so highly motivated. And to me, that's amazing of its own right there. I can't explain it, but it's it's something else. So feel free, if anybody's listening, feel free to make comments, talk, ask questions. By all means, ask any questions that you can. It's a learning experience. But for veterans, I'm very adamant and passionate about it. That's all I want to do is I want to help as many people as possible, especially like our first responders. Everybody needs a little bit of help. Everybody does. In some shape or form. Sometimes we have our good days, and sometimes we have our bad days. Yesterday was a bad day. But you know what? Get up, you smile, and you keep on going. And for me, the compass rose, the reason why I came up with the compass rose, a lot of people ask me, why'd you come up with the compass rose? Well, that's easy. Like, what do you mean? I was in the Navy. I traveled all over the world. Got to see many foreign ports, a lot of places. And in any type of industry, I've noticed that a lot of people have issues with people, sex, color, all kinds of different various things people they just don't like or care for. So on every map, since the beginning of, when everybody was on ships, sailing and all that, and on the map, on the lower right side, the legend, where you have a compass rose. Yes, that's what it's called. The north, south, east, west. There's one of my packaging from it right there. It's for everywhere. So wherever you are, okay, wherever you are, whether it's anywhere around the world, it's here in the United States, if you smoke one of my cigars, you have one of my coasters, you buy one of my custom plaques to help veterans, whatever it is, you can plug in your latitude and longitude, and that's where you're enjoying, you're a part of the compass rose, you're a part of the family. That's what I'm here for. It's to share that experience, be humble, and help maybe relate to somebody. Because I can share my life stories, my many challenges. But the biggest thing that I've learned over time is I learned from my mistakes. I didn't let my past define who I am today. Yet I learned from it, and I got stronger because of it. My past made me who I learned a lot from it. So it was very challenging. It's not always easy to do things like that. So, it is what it is, but it's a mental challenge. Any comments? Any concerns? Not yet. Hopefully I'm not boring anybody. I know I could bore myself sometimes. Let me tell you. My wife always laughs at me. Sometimes your jokes aren't always funny. Too serious. Yeah, I get like that. Because sometimes I don't know how to joke. I'm not that type of person. But what I am is somebody who's passionate enough and empathetic enough to want to help. And what I mean by help is do the right things for our veterans, do the right things for anybody, being a human being, right? What are the options? It's kind of like put your money where your mouth is. Don't talk about it, be about it. Go over there, talk to people, help them out, lend a helping hand. It gets exciting when you're able to do that. And sometimes by doing that brings you riches. When people say, well, you're rich. Yeah, because I've created a family. I've created an atmosphere that I care. Like me and my wife, we have an older son. He's a firefighter. Runs into burning buildings when most people run away from it. I have a stepbrother. He's a police officer. They put their lives in harm's way every single day. They have families. When they walk out, their families are scared. Do they ever get to come home? But what ifs? But yet people talk down on them because of those kind of types of things. But they don't know what they go through. And again, like police officers, firefighters, paramedics, the doctors, the nurses, all your first responders and stuff like that, they might have all the answers for the problems that are going on at those moments, but who's there for them when they go through it emotionally and mentally? Good questions, right? To me, it's good questions. Sometimes we don't always have the answers for those. So let's help each other. There's helping kids, suicides that are going on unnecessarily. Kids shouldn't even be thinking about things like that. They should be just being able to be a kid, enjoying life and having fun and just being a kid. Worry about the adult stuff when you become an adult. Because trust me, you'll have those issues. And we're not all perfect. That's why I look up to Major. Because he's an amazing man. But and there he is. Major Ed.
Can you hear me?
How are you doing? God bless you, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Loud and clear.
All right, great. I made it in.
Yes, you did, sir. And I was just telling everybody how much of a inspiration that you are, not only for all of our veterans and our first responders, but for me personally. You're an inspiration and you motivate me because I go through a lot mentally and all that. But so when I see you, you're always smiling. You're always happy. Even whatever you've gone through, you lost your leg and everything, but you always had that smile. And now I take that very sacred.
Well, thank you for
appreciate that.
Oh, brother. And you know what? Thank you for all you do too, man, and raising awareness. Man, I've met a lot of your friends too that love smoking cigars out there all over the place, man. Thanks for the shout out and for being my friend, man. I love that.
It's an honor. Like if you could talk to us about, because there's a lot of people on here, because this is my first one doing it on StreamYard, that there's veterans that need a voice. They need help. They need a little bit of guidance. And if you could share how you started Heart of a Lion Foundation and the whys and what you stand for.
Well, that's a great question. We started the Heart of a Lion Foundation because the first thing is we want to help people. We want to be a faithful group of individuals too, because we live by our faith that guides us, the love for the people that we serve, the love for country. And then it was JD's legacy. I've already had some things happen in my life. So has he. But it was a legacy where we wanted to do something that really mattered, and that, when you leave this world, that you have something that you did that was purposeful and that people will, be reminded of. And for JD, of course, at the time, and I mean, John Daly at the time, was all of the things that he's been doing on the golf course. But what's he done off the golf course? And not the negativity behind maybe some things that have happened in his life, but the positives of what he's done to help others and to inspire people when they were in the greatest time of need. And that is what really sells what we do. Is when someone's down, we want to lift them up, give them hope, give them inspiration and motivation, but also give them some understanding that they're not alone in this journey in life, and that we're here to support them and do something above and beyond our call of duty. And that to me is really the essence of the Heart of a Lion.
Wow. It touches your heart because you guys help kids too, the Boys and Girls Club of America. And you're all over just raising so much awareness and the interest and the understanding that people, because everybody needs help. Everybody needs a little bit of help. But how do you stay mentally in the game? Because I know it could get challenging. And how do you explain that to the younger people that are coming up when you go to speak and you go to talk?
Well, everyone has to have purpose and a passion for doing something. And, like this podcast, there's a lot of things that go above and beyond Call of Duty or behind the scenes to make it happen. And I think for us, that's what it is. I always go back to stories of individuals that have come into my life and those stories of challenge. I mean, recently I was around an individual who was an amputee, and we got to speaking, and he didn't realize I was an amputee, didn't really know me very well, and told me about his cancer and the things that he'd been through, and how his leg had to be taken off, and that he felt hopeless, and then he doesn't even know I'm an amputee because I was wearing long pants, and all of a sudden he says, "Man, I hope you know what I'm talking about." And I could see him. Of course, we started the conversation because I knew that he was an amputee. But the thing about it is that in that moment, when I told him that I was an amputee and I understood his journey, because it was funny, he said something like, "Well, I know you may not understand what I'm going through." And I'm thinking to myself, geez, man, what a setup question that was. But, I explained to him the meaning of just kind of understanding that you got to get up every day. That's the first thing you got to do. As hard as that is, you go to bed, you got to get up and you got to hit it again. And this world is an interesting world that we're living in right now. In fact, I was just talking to my people on this other radio show about it just now. There's a lot of dynamics. There's a lot of negativity in reference to what's going on a national scale with politics and the divisiveness, the disrespect that we have, just the audacity to, not get along with people, not work together. That's just a dividing and unquestionably unpleasant place to be. And why would you want to be in that realm of life where everything is just always negative and you're out to get somebody? And if you live your life like that, like some of these politicians do, and that's the example that I would use, you know what? How do you go to sleep at night knowing that what you're doing is really unpurposeful, and it hurts people? And to me, that's not what we built our nation on. And that's why I feel like that's what gets me up every day is what can I do to be a difference maker and do something powerfully for someone else, instead of all of the other minutia and all the negativity that surrounds everything that's going on in our lives today, that really can take you down and make you feel like, what, it's kind of the end of the world, but it's not.
See, those are amazing aspects. That's why I love listening to you and the way you speak and how people don't get the motivation. Like me being a veteran, go through a lot of mental challenges. I couldn't even fathom understanding what it is to be an amputee because I'm not one. But I can relate, and those are the things, important things is through mentally, you don't see it, but you don't know what's going on in someone's head. And our many veterans and everybody else, firefighters, police officers, everybody that is part of it, when you're helping somebody else, that you might be going through something. And how do you get the right help? Where do you go to get that type of help? Is it even possible to get that type of help? If that makes any sense. I'm just really passionate about it because for anybody who does not know and all that, because I'm going to be re-putting this out on Instagram and everywhere else, is that when I got the opportunity to meet you at Rally Point, that's another thing. A shout out to Armed Forces Brewing Company. Great company. Brought all of us together, got an opportunity to network and meet great people. When I say great people, I mean great freaking people. And I have a
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear. And that's why I have your picture up in the right corner and all that, is because I had so much fun with you there at the Rally Point. And the inspiration is, what do you tell young kids? Because there's a lot of suicides that are going on in this day and age, and the depression. So how do you help them how do you know? How can you even figure out if someone has a problem? How do you associate that with like Heart of Lion when you're going to talk to them? You can hear me fine, right? A little bit of difficulty. So for just a moment and all that, we're going. That's major ed. Wait, they should be able to go to school, not scared of bullies. That's a really good question, all that. They should be able to go to school and not scared of bullies. Thanks, Joel. I appreciate that, because that's a big one right there, especially when it comes to bullies and all that. Major ed will be back in. Just had probably a little bit of technical difficulties, but that's okay. I got this. As it comes on, have a good show. Thank you, Brandy. I appreciate that. And again, that's why I have a tattoo. We the people, for the people, by the people. I'm doing the right things. When he comes back on, we'll go into more detail of all that. And I appreciate everybody who is listening. That means a lot to me. But he is just, him and John Daly do some amazing things. And the more that we talk to each other, and he helps me out with the True North Foundation. He said we can be partners. So events like charity golf events, that he gets people involved, communities involved to help others. Now that stuff is important.
I'm back.
You're back.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries, brother. No worries. I totally understand.
Something happened.
Hey, if you need a break, let me know and all that. We can go to a commercial break.
No, we did good. It was just something that went technical. I couldn't hear you.
That happens. But I saw you the whole time. I could hear you the whole time.
You could hear me, though?
Yep, absolutely. Loud and clear.
I just couldn't hear you, so sorry about that. But I'm back now.
No worries. I was telling all people, like, because Joel, he had a really good question and all that. He asked, kids should be able to go to school and not be scared of bullies.
Say that again.
He said kids should be able to go to school and not be scared of bullies.
You're so right. Right now, you know what? In America today, that's an epidemic. And a lot of it has to do with when we grew up. I will tell you, people stood their ground. When someone bullied somebody else, people stuck up for each other. In this day and era, I think a lot of it has to do with the cell phone and the social media presence and the activities around kind of like these conniving ways. And trust me, me and my family have experienced the bullying aspect of things. I mean, people bully each other every day. I mean, I had somebody that bullied me on something the other day related to an accident that we were involved with. And it was kind of like they were putting some stuff out and making it sound like, we were at fault. And I had to kind of put them in their place. And when you do that, I think that it sets the tone for what you're going to be able to take and not take. And there's a lot of people out here that are taking things when they shouldn't. And, my conclusion on that is that, there has to be a level of respect. Bullying it should never be tolerated, specifically in schools. And they wonder why we have a suicide epidemic, or we have a mental health stressors epidemic, because, these children are going to school and they don't look like everybody else, or they don't hang around with the right people, or you don't have the right connections, or economic stability side of it. All of a sudden you're shamed and you're looked negatively upon. And, I have a different strategy for that. I mean, I told my kids, and it's hard, but once you get out of high school, all that crap goes to waste, man. but it's getting through there, and peer pressure and the issues related to all of that. And just the fact that even, I'll give you an example, even in these institutions that they're, private schools, that at the end of the day, there's still issues there too. And the sad part about it is no one should ever have to go through that. You're there to get an education. That's it. And, the days of punching somebody in the face and then moving on, you can't do that kind of stuff because you're going to get yourself in trouble. Just a lot of different negativity and stressors that our children are going through. And, adults are going through it too. It just depends on the type of cliques you run around with, the people. But at the end of the day, you know what? I'm independent, man. I remember one time when somebody came up to me and told me something about being Hispanic and swimming across the river or something, and I was like, man, I don't know anything about that. But it's those stereotypes too, and I think that they play a role in the bullying as well. That um, you just have to kind of go with the flow and make sure that that you stand tall for who you are, and that you're guided by some principles in life, which is faith and your family and your country and all of those things that go along with it.
Oh yeah, all the way. No, but you're 100% right, and that's where I was with the True North Foundation. Is now I'm going to start getting more involved because you see it and you hear it. There are so many kids that are committing suicide over reasons that should have never even be entered. You're 100% accurate. So what can we do as a community? True North Foundation is more set to be where I'm going to start talking to high schools, getting involved, get the police department, the fire department. Let's have more mentorship. Let's help these kids out, because it does fall on us, because we are the adults, where we can start standing up. Teachers got to be held more accountable, help educate them, bully programs, because they do. People get more victimized, and you're right. Social media can be really good, but it can also be really bad at the same token. And people are so scared of images instead of just being happy and comfortable in their own skin. It's like that when you put on a mask, which in the military, you totally get that, because that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is in the military, you wear different masks, whether it be a father, a son, a husband, a brother, all these different various things, and then a warrior. Then you got to shut all that out to where you turn into a whole different person. And then when you come home from all that, what mask are you wearing? Which one is the right one? Are you wearing the father mask, or are you stuck in the military mindset and can't get out of it? The transitioning, helping emotional distress. Same thing with kids. They're going through it all the time. Wear a different mask and they're scared to death of it. The guns that are coming through. I mean, it's getting a little carried away.
Well, some of these kids end up taking things into their own hands, and look what happened there in that was years of negativity there in Tennessee. And the thing is, one of the things that distinguishes the military from a lot of these things, though, is the uniformity of wearing a uniform, of everybody looks the same. You don't have different shoes on. Everybody has the same combat boots. I mean, it's one of those things like that. And that type of mindset is one that's really kind of powerful. Yes, it teaches you to be balanced in one way and have some other balances in another way too. And I don't know if everybody will understand what I'm trying to say here, but I think it's important that at the end of the day, it's not about being a cookie cutter. It's about having some guiding principles and a foundation that really enables you to do the things that you're doing, staying on point with those principles. I'll give you an example. The other day, I was privy to somebody, and they didn't look like everybody else. And the thing about it is that if you want that type of attention, then when somebody gives you negative attention, then you know what? You got to go with the stride of what that is, because you just brought it upon yourself. And that to me is something that is not being taught right now. If you want if you want that type of attention because you decided to cut off your ears and do something, different to yourself, people are going to take a look at that, and they're going to look at that in a very different way. Not everybody's going to agree with that kind of stuff. Yay or nay, I try to respect everybody, but in that same token, you know what? I also look at people that are different than you, and what drives them. And the other thing is, I'm going to be empathetic and compassionate, but I'm not going to compromise on who I am and what I'm all about. And you know, I come from a military background, so I tend to lean on military and the red, white, and blue, and the patriotic nature. Those is what I'm saying are the foundational principles that we can all agree on. But we can't even agree on that. You got people burning flags and acting up, hating their country. I mean, I saw a statistic recently, 39% of people identify as true Americans. And then they rag out the ones that are true Americans. Bottom line is, I'd rather have a true American on the battlefield than some scumbag that doesn't even want to pick up an arm, but you know what, wants to protest. Because hey, that protesting ain't going to get you nowhere. What it'll do is it'll get you to where, you know what, someone will take advantage of you. And there's ways to do things to where you proactively do things, not only for your community, for those people in that community, but for your religious beliefs or whatever it may be. And that to me is the freedom that we fought for. And so having unity, having a foundation, having guiding principles, and having, a steadfast thought process of where you're going and what you all about and what you stand for is very, very important. And I'm not saying it's the other day, well, not the other day, but not too long ago, I saw somebody that, had the gentleman had his buddy on a leash and he was running around like acting like a dog. And I'm like thinking to myself, if you don't want that type of attention, then when somebody looks at you, then don't act like you're mad because they're looking at you. You just drew negative attention to yourself. And that to me is where we've gone totally to the other side. No uniformity, and we have to, I guess, outdo somebody else in what we do. Maybe that's individualism, but in that same token, great societies don't live like that. Great societies stick together. They work together. They empower one another. They motivate each other, and then they become a beacon of light for how they nurture and bring people up to contribute. And that to me is what we should be concentrating on, is providing the best support to our kids and to the people that we come in contact with, to changing lives and saying, you know what, at the end of the day, collectively we're stronger instead of being individualistic.
I couldn't agree more. And I thank you for that, because but again, a lot of people are very scared to talk about those types of issues. I know right now, a lot of people, it's just not out there. We don't have these types of conversations. Everybody tries to avoid it. But in reality, they're real conversations. They're necessary to have, to sit down and have these conversations, because you know what, just like you, that's why it's a great honor to even be a part, and to work with you is a great honor. And it's being patriotic, and it's not just, it's loving your country, loving where you're at, the freedoms that you have, being provided from our forefathers and everybody else who have bloodshed, lost their lives to allow us to be able to do the things we're doing today. Way back when they signed direct Declaration of Independence, there's reasons for all that. Our history is based off of that. And you are one of the patriotic men who stand for that. The foundation stands for that.
Yeah.
But not only that and people don't realize, is the opportunities that you allow and you bring with you, such as wanting to be around me and working with me. That's a great honor. And you being part of Armed Forces Brewing Company, the different opportunities that you give people and companies is phenomenal. And that's a good question for people, is how do you do that? How do you pick and choose when you're trying to go along with somebody company wise?
Well, I want to tell you something. Like right now, something that's going on in our country, and look, I'm glad that you mentioned it. we can talk about these things. Example is very important in the sense that what we have going on in Washington, D.C. Are two standards of justice. Whether you like Trump or not, and I'm only going here, this isn't political, whether you like Trump or not, or whether you like the other side or not, Biden, whatever it is, there's two standard terms of justice right now that are very prevalent, and you can see them as plain as day. And if you're okay with that, then what that does is that just tears your country even further apart. And for me, I've been able to kind of watch these things from a neutral point of view and just seeing what's unfolding. And I'm seeing things that I'm just like, wow, you know, the hatred that we have. And that's the example that I'm using because it's an example that politicizes everything that we do. This call today is not a political call. It's a call of getting together and having conversation. But you can't even have that in within our political leaders and those that are leading this great country. And to me, that's what bothers me, if anything, is just the fact that we've thrown away everything that what you just described, history, the the laws that are on the books, the way that we should be getting along with one another, teamwork, leading from the front, not from behind, like what is going on in Hawaii right now, and how there's always a cynical agenda that's going on that, if you really look and dig deep, instead of sitting back and just letting it go, that there's some cynical powers that have things that are happening that, want to tear this world apart and have evil intentions. And it is good and evil. And I think that to me is the the conversation that we have to have is that, you know, history to me has never been evil. Have there been evil things that have happened? Yes.
Mhm.
History is not that way. History is something that you can learn from, that you can build on, and that you can participate on, and you can have knowledge about. That makes you a better institution, that makes you a better society, that makes you a better individual, and a productive individual in the society that you live under. And many societies have come and gone. I just hope that the United States of America understands that that flag means a lot, that the sacrifices mean a great deal, but that, we as Americans, there is a purpose that we stand with, and that purpose is to be guided by principles that our founding fathers put together, that that they bled and that they shed blood for, so other people in the future could have the best quality of life and the freedom to live and to thrive and be successful and have a great quality of life. And that to me is just, it's changing, man. And you can just see it every day, with everything that's going on. And again, it's not coming from one political aisle or the other. It's coming from just, if you look at it from the center of life in this world with what's going on, that you can see that, there's sinister things going on at work that really tear down a society and tear down its people. And that to me is a travesty.
Oh, it is. And it's like, how do we combat that? How do we manage this stuff? My only way is right here, being able to talk and have the good conversations and being aligned with people who are like-minded, who have, hey, I want to do some good. Do I have to? No, I don't have to do it. I want to. I choose to do the things that I do. I choose to want to help veterans. I choose to want to help people because, yeah, sinister things always are going to happen. You're going to have good and evil no matter what you do. But how do you deal with it and go through that process? By working together.
Yeah.
When we come together as a unit, as a team and all that, and you grow, and strength is it when you're united. It's the United States, you're united. So if we cut all the dumb stuff that's going on, that's all happening. Even I'm not political. I can't stand politics because it's ridiculous, in my own opinion. And again, my own opinion.
Yeah.
And it's about the people, for the people. by the people. That's why I got it tattooed. We the people. I mean, it means something to me. That hey, we all gotta forget the politics of Republicans, Democrats, and all this. Everybody, there's too much division going on. Way too much division. Instead of working together. Yeah, you can, it's okay to have your different views on it, different opinions, but what's the main goal? It's like with me in the cigar industry. When we come on and have conversations and smoke, we sit there and everybody comes together to be around a great cigar, to have great conversation. And when it comes to the military or politics, it's what's good for the country, what makes us stronger, not what tears us down, what can break us, or hey, I want to make my pockets more fuller on this side and all that. It's not about the money. Our freedoms aren't based on money. It's kind of like when you put trying to put a value on a person's life. You can't do that. Life is precious. It's the choices that we do with those. So stop putting price tags on things and trying to put valuations, and start looking at people as human beings, because that's what it is. It's like a soldier. If you go in there, or a police officer or firefighter, when you're armed with a weapon, do you want to use it? No. Nobody wants to have to pull that gun or a weapon or anything like that. But when you do, you have to look at that person. You have to live with it for the rest of your life. You don't get to say, whoops, I'm sorry. Hey, bud, let's be friends later. No, once they're gone, they're gone. You can't bring back a life. That's the same thing with what they're doing to our country. Don't tear it down. Let's spend more time. Everybody has all this free time to tear things down. How about spending all this time to try to do something that's positive and to help people?
Well, and the other thing is, I think you bring up is accountability. I mean, you look at the name of your podcast, The Compass Rose. Look at that. Where are we headed? I'll give you an example of the negativity that we're headed. When you have lawlessness, you get these outcomes that you have. Yesterday, I was watching television and I see a lady literally an older lady, getting dragged with her purse in California, or in California, those people ransacking in San Francisco, someone's store. And it may be a corporate store, but it could even be somebody's just that's trying to make a living store. And I just look at that kind of stuff and it's like, the border's another thing. You let people come across the border without any type of documentation or any type of accountability. I mean, that to me is not the moral compass we're talking about here. We're talking about, everyday people like us that enjoy the freedoms that we have, but then we have to live in a society where there are people that are doing these kind of things that are lawless to the well-being of all. I mean, yeah, if you want to steal stuff, that's what if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But you're stealing from others, and those rising costs get passed on to people like us. And to me, that's where we're at right now. In these big cities across the country, we've just let crime get rampant. No accountability. You let people out without bail. Hey, hope you can come back. Well, what makes you think they're going to come back? And then they go out and commit another heinous crime, even more heinous than what it was. So my point is that, do we have to go to a society where everything is militaristic? And you know what? You beat to your own drum, because I can function in that arena.
Mm-hmm.
I know you can too. And
Yes,
I think at some point it's going to have to get to that point where you're going to have some types of checks and balances, because society will run so rampant and so dysfunctional, that's all they know. It's like that Mad Max movie. You've seen them before.
Oh God, yes.
Everybody, if it's a live and die on that deal.
Mm-hmm.
People like me are going to be able to survive, and you are too. There's going to be other people that won't, because guess what? They have no survival skills except the menacing power that they have, and they think that they can take out the weak with that menacing power. But there ain't no weakness here, that's for sure.
Amen, brother. 100%. So again, I just love it, and it's an honor to have you on the show and all that. It's always an honor having you on. So where do you see yourself as far as Heart of a Lion goes? Are you guys going to be growing any bigger? And if you could tell a little bit about your guys' direction that you guys are headed.
Yeah, so our direction is that we're in year 2.5, which means that we're in the corporate signature year now. So now we start going after corporate partners that want to become partners of our organization. And I think that's the next step in the evolutionary process of any organization. You did events, you had some money come in that seeded you, and now it's time to take it to another level. I like the fact that we're a small organization and we do things, and we also have fun with it because that's important. It's called donor experience. That's one of the things that we have masterfully worked on is how can we improve a donor's experience when they go to an event and they're a part of the event and they leave the event and they tell someone else and someone else wants to go and be a part of that. And donor experience is important because in this day and era, there's another word called donor retention. And donor retention is that same other word that says, how do we retain these people to become longtime givers of our organization to meet our budget needs and the needs of those in the community that we serve? So that to me is the vision behind what we do. We're working on, we just launched an initiative called Empowering the 22. I like that 22 name and number because that's where we were at and that's what everybody touted. And now that number may be 17, but it can go up to 22 pretty quick. So for us, it's making sure that we don't get higher than that 22 number, and we keep it consistent way below that 22 number of suicides. We're also working a lot on homelessness issues. Homelessness, by far, the statistics that just came out, and I know a lot about philanthropy and what's going on with it, but that is the number one issue in the United States right now. We have more people that are homeless than we've had ever before. And not just veterans that are homeless. We're talking about families, we're talking about individuals, we're talking about just people that are just one paycheck away from that. A lot of us can sympathize with that. And to me, how do you maintain and how do you keep it together with $4.49 gas or the goods that you buy and the services that everything's gone up because they have to, your groceries, your electric. I mean, I've said some things here at my house about a high electric bill this past month. I've never paid a bill like that before, but it just keeps going up and up, and you just like try to manage and put as much money into it as possible. But at the end of the day, it's just the cost of living these days. It's no one's legislatively wise, inflation wise, it's a national epidemic. It's not, and it's hurting families because families have to, it's like, well, do we use this dollar for that or that? And so in a way, I've had to do that where you try to maximize every dollar you have and try to, spread it as far as you can go. And I blame a lot of our politicians on that because they're the ones that say every 4 years, come vote for me. The economy's going to be good. And now we have, again, no pun intended towards this, but we have somebody in office who is not exhibiting any leadership skills, can't get in front of people and talk to the American people, we the people. I mean, you got to have a CEO that can do that. And if you're down on this thing that's going on right now on a national scale in the White House and you're okay with just the status quo of just, hey, you know what, we're going to just do the minimum. That's not what we were built upon.
Mm-mm.
We were built upon, John F. Kennedy. I mean, I one of my favorite presidents. I mean, what can you do, man? Really, like, and I that's what inspires me, not the D or an R, the inspiration behind what you're going to do for your fellow man. And that's why we, the people, and what you just described is important because if you're not talking about these things and you're not and you're not doing a self-evaluation of what's going on right now, this evaluation is not a very good evaluation. And can we continue to have that for another 4 years? I don't know who's going to be in charge as president next, but we better have somebody that can be able to speak and articulate and give us a message and a dream of hope for the young
Mhm.
people of this country, because I don't need any more hope, man. I've got enough hope in my life. I think our young people are the ones that need hope and support and a vision for what America looks like in their future. And it's our children. And that's what I would, that's what kind of keeps me up at night, is those kind of things. So
I could agree. It keeps me up a lot because having grandchildren and all that. You look at them, and you just want, and that's what the American dream was all about. Is you always want your kids and your family to be better than you are. And that's all I've ever wanted. When you're looking at your grandkids or your kids, you want them to have the best life and the best outcome. And the way it's going, it's hard. You got to give them, it's like giving them an incentive, a bonus. Well, I got to look forward to, because then they start depression and people start getting into a bad state of mind. And you're right, but it stems from the top. Accountability goes right up to the top. If you can't lead, then you don't have any business by being there. You have to lead by example and set the example and do what's right. And that was a huge thing that I had, hard lesson I learned over my life is the truth and doing the right things is not always easy. You might have to do hard decisions. But again, it's not easy all the time. So you have to do it, but do what's right. I know it probably came out wrong, but I know.
well, you remember this: take the harder ride over the easier wrong.
100%.
I think that's what you're saying, and I think
Yeah.
in retrospect, kind of what I'm saying too is that we, again, it's not about this person or that person. It's about leadership,
Mm-hmm.
communication, um, you know, having some compassion and heart and soul, conviction, lead, like you said, leading by that example of leading the troops into battle. Like you're gonna go into battle, but you're gonna eat last because you want to make sure your troops eat first. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's those commanders' guiding principles. And to me, I just don't see it in this commander in chief. And again, this isn't a political statement. It's just more of an evaluation, because I have to evaluate my employees. I have to evaluate, the things that are going on. I've been in a lot of evaluations about the VA and how we can fix the VA. And again, these are not critical items. It's items that say, hey, this is an accountability. If you're leading this country, whoever it is, you have to be up there in the forefront. You have to be the face. You have to be the one that's accountable for when something goes wrong. I'll give you an example of what's gone wrong. The people there in Hawaii right now are struggling, yet we're paying money to people in Ukraine. I mean, where are our priorities? And I mean, that's another example. That isn't a political statement. It's more of a who comes first? The people in America, our fellow Americans, or people all over this world? And I think at some point we've got to evaluate that and say, what's the best direction for our country, and putting our country first. And then we take care of others. It's just like when you're on an airplane and they tell you to put on that mask, you don't put it on the kid first, you put it on yourself. And then you put it on your child. And I think that to me is the essence of what I'm talking about, is that we have to step up to the plate. We have to take care of our own, and then we'll take care of those around the world, because we are a compassionate and honorable nation.
100%. Hey, you're taking care of your own. You take care of, and that goes with the homelessness and everything. You don't sit there to spend millions and billions and all this other stuff on everybody else when you got the problems right in your own backyard that needs to be addressed, because it's not okay. It's not acceptable. None of it's acceptable. Not when you're putting families and kids on the streets, and then you don't, hey, well, we don't have the shelters for it. Now you're under bridges. Now you're doing this. Then it leads into bad stuff. And again, we see it all the time. The kids that are unfortunate in projects and stuff like that, they have no hope. They have nothing. What do they got? What are we doing to make it better for them to get themselves out of those situations? Yeah, a lot of them are fatherless. Why?
Yeah.
Because they're struggling. They're trying to make ends meet. Or if they go somewhere else, they go to jail. I mean, there are so many things that need to be addressed and brought up. And we have to have these serious conversations. And it doesn't, and yes, it starts from the top. But again, like you were saying, is we have no structure. There is no, the structure is breaking. So we have to get that structure back. Just like the military, it's a structure. We understand how it works and why it works. There's reasons why it works.
Yeah, you know what I want to say too is that I appreciate those that have listened today.
Absolutely.
Again, my opinions are my opinions. All of us have opinions, and all of us have, strengths and weaknesses. And my hope here is just to bring light to conversation that I think we can all agree on. And I think we can. I think a lot of the people here understand that it's not a red or blue issue. It's a American issue. It's a red, white, and blue issue. And again, the politics of the world try to supersede things. Um, and bear in mind, we've had some outstanding presidents. I mean, not every president, every president makes their mistakes and everything. But I will say right now, we're in a place where we have to make some changes because we're at a tipping point in this country's you know where we've evolved to. And to me, if we want to continue to be the beacon of light, then we got to act like it, and we got to show the world that we are part of the rule of law, that we have a foundation that's not broken, that we take care of our people, that we take care of people around the world. We're the defenders of freedom, and that those are the principles that we should live by, as opposed to these things that, all these cultural things that we fight over, which really truly have no significant value, in that the fact that is everybody will treat everybody with respect and dignity, but when you disrespect somebody else, you may get disrespected back. And that to me is something that a lot of people haven't learned on all these fronts, is that it's okay to disrespect religious people and all of this and that to some, but then when you get disrespected back, all of a sudden, oh man, you're racist, you're this, you're that. No, it doesn't work that way. Maybe, you know what, maybe you should have some compassion and some empathy for everyone in the way that they view things. And maybe your way is not the right way. And I'm not saying that I'm right all the time, but you know what, at the end of the day, I do live by some principles, and I'm going to continue to live by them, because that's what motivates me and inspires me. And I feel like that's what works for me. And whatever works for anybody else, that's fine. But at the end of the day, that's how you got to live your life in this country right now, because people will tear you down in a minute. And you know what? It's people that haven't done anything in life that tear you down, and they don't matter.
Brother, that's why you're a heart of a lion. 100%. See, love and smile. That's where the heart of the lion comes into play, and that's why I love it. And again, thank you to everybody who visited and listened and all that. It will be going out live stream everywhere else, so be aware of it. And Major Ed, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. And it's important conversations, and I look forward to it. And I'm very gracious and humbled that we can work together.
Well, we are, and we, like I said, none of us see eye to eye, but on everything. But certainly, we can come together for that flag that you're wearing on that hat, man. And that, to me, is what should drive all of us to have great understanding of the greatest nation in the world, and its contributions to the world. So, love you, brother, and big salute to the show. And you know what? Now I'm a regular, baby. I'm in.
Yeah, you're always more than welcome. I love you to death. You're like that's the whole thing. You bring it in, it's like part of the family. And that's what you created, that's what I created, and that's why I look up to you.
Well,
for that. So,
and again, we've become friends, and I appreciate you, and to all the listeners out there, thank you for what for listening and being a part of it, and express your views. All of us have great views, and sometimes people can change me too on things, and that's what great dialogue does. That's what great leadership does. And so, you know what, if we can lead from the grassroots movement, then we're making a difference and we're empowering people. And that word's powerful, empowerment. Everyone has an empowerment quality. Find it, bring it out, and execute it.
100%, brother. Again, God bless you. I love you. I will be talking to you later and all that. And we're great to be able to work with you with True North Foundation and the Heart of a Lion Foundation. So everybody, thank you so much for joining and all that. Always follow Major Ed, Heart of a Lion Foundation with John Daly. I'll always check him out. He's a great man. Yeah. God bless everybody. And thank you. And I'm going to go out with this one. What is it, Major Ed? What kind of day is this? It's a great what?
It's a day to be an American. Hit me up on Instagram. Hoorah!
Hoorah! Love y'all.